Hi, everybody. I'm Eric Dillner. I'm the CEO of the Shoreline Arts Alliance, and we're absolutely thrilled today to host our friends from Connecticut Humanities for this Connecticut Cultural Fund Operating Support Grants discussion and info session. We really want it to be a discussion. If you heard Scott and I talk a minute ago, so be ready to click on your camera if you can, and be ready to unmute yourself so we can all have a chat. So again, we'll get going with that in just a second, but I want to share a little bit for some of you who may not know much about Shoreline Arts Alliance. I thought I'd just fill you in a little bit. Shoreline Arts Alliance is one of the Connecticut arts councils. We say we're your arts council, and we really mean that. Shoreline Arts Alliance was created about 40 years ago with the idea of being a statewide arts council. We started a program called Images photo competition, which was statewide, and then a children's book writing competition, which was statewide. So we're kind of a little different than some of maybe your local arts council if you're in a different area. So we're really here to be a hub for the arts, inclusive of all people, a creative incubator and cultivator of leadership. So as you can see there on the little corner over there, it says fostering education, creating livelihoods, and you'll get to know what the last word is in another minute. But the reality is we're here to help you, young artists, arts organizations, get to where they are. We foster education, we develop communities, and we create livelihoods. Those are our priorities. And so that means that you're our priority. If you look here in this little blue area, we're doing one of these things right now, a workshop or conference for artists and arts organizations. We also want to make sure that you know that we're designated by the state of Connecticut to help people create arts districts in their community. So if you're in our region, we help you. If not, and you call us, we actually get you with another arts council that does that. Oh, we got a little one on the phone. That's fun. Say hi to them. And then we also do a lot of advocacy and creating arts influencers, connecting you with arts influencers. What does that mean? Well, that can mean anything from a funder to someone who can help mentor a community, you name it. Bottom line is we're pretty broad. Promoting and marketing arts and arts organizations, that's something that we're very important to us, and then professional development. You may have come to us recently over the last year and a half through to our pandemic leadership. We created a program called Reopen Connecticut Arts Venues Through Science-Based Safety. This is a partnership that we created with Yale School of Public Health, help people through this pandemic. We thought we'd be done with this now, but guess what? We're still not. Matter of fact, today is a really big day here at my office. So if you hear noises in the background, we've been sharing over 500,000 masks with the arts community as they open. So if you're in need, let us know. I'll flash up the email here in a little bit, but office@shorelinearts.org is where you can find them. We're about out. So if you call us and let us know, we might be able to get some more. But this week, and today's the first day, we're actually starting to share tests, COVID tests. Many of you may have a unionized institution that is requiring multiple tests a week for an artist or for your staff, or you just want them on hand. We have worked out a deal that we have a donor who's helped us foot part of the bill for those. So we're able to provide tests now at $5 a piece. Minimum order is 25 tests. I actually yesterday dropped off a box of 450 to an institution, and a couple of weeks ago dropped off a box to Ivoryton Playhouse of 450 to get them started. So we're here to help you with that. Let us know. Again, we have a limit on those. We have 5,000 at this point, and we have about 3,000 already spoken for. So if you're interested in that kind of help, let us know. Right now, we're in the middle of our big statewide raffle. Now, this raffle is actually a marketing campaign. we're trying to market to the community that the arts are reopening. The arts are here, we're back, and we're strong. So though we'd love people to buy the tickets and help us pay for the, the other part of this, these tests and masks and all that stuff, it's really more about getting the word out. We partnered with 30 arts organizations throughout the state. We've actually bought tickets or museum passes, et cetera, from them to make some really great, 3 great raffle baskets. So if you're interested in helping us promote that or purchasing them, again, shorelinearts.org. And last but not least, we have programs statewide for artists and arts organizations. And don't hesitate to take a look at our website. We want to be here to help you all. Leadership is very key to us. You'll see I have some students here on the screen. Leadership development to me is key. I don't know about you, but I did not get a degree in running an arts organization. I hear that often, that it's something that we as artists become the leader in an institution. And so one of the things that I started here 10 years ago was a junior board of directors and a leadership development program. What I've learned is not just the kids who need it, it's all of us who need it. So we spend a good amount of effort on that. Last week, I had a celebration in my office because one of our graduating junior board members sent us a note saying that he's been at college for the last few months now, and he's already the president of 2 clubs at his college because he knows how to manage a meeting. He knows how to set an agenda. He knows how to do all those basics of keeping an organization moving forward. And he says thanks to Shoreline Arts Alliance for training him to do that. So board development for us is key, meaning for you all, if you're having challenges with that, don't hesitate to reach out. So I tell you these things because I want you to know we're here to help you transform lives through the arts. I'm sure that's what you do every day. That's what we want to help you do every day. office@shorelinearts.org is the general email that you'll probably get to faster, but you can also have my email. It's eric@shorelinearts.org. So without any further stuff, I'm free to answer questions, but you can also throw something in the chat so we can get on to the main event here, which is Scott Wands, again, Director of Grants and Programs with Connecticut Humanities, and Leanne Partridge is also here with Grants and Program as a Grants and Program Assistant to Scott and Connecticut Humanities. So thank you all so much for being here today. Scott, you want to take it over?
Sure. Thank you, Eric. And thank you so much for hosting us and for Shoreline Arts for hosting us. One just quick clarifying thing. Arts is in your mission, arts is in your name, but a lot of the things you've been talking about, and I know we've got many arts and arts organizations, but some history organizations here as well. So having been delivering some of the PPE and handing out stuff to Mystic Seaport and Mark Twain, you do not need to be a 100% arts organization for the trainings and the masks and the tests that you're handing out, correct?
Yeah, I'm so glad you said that. I'm so bad about saying the word arts. I spent 20 years running arts organizations and then came to this wonderful state. And for the last 10 years, we help with all of the historical institutions, et cetera. And I just can't reprogram myself. I don't know if anybody else has one of those problems in their life, but I just can't seem to reprogram myself. So yes, thank you for pointing that out. I really appreciate that. We're here to help all. Yeah.
And it's actually a great introduction. So again, I'm Scott Wands. I'm the Director of Grants and Programs at Connecticut Humanities. I see many familiar faces here, but many new faces as well. And that's really why we wanted to get together here. You all have applied for and received an operating support grant from the Connecticut Cultural Fund that we oversee and manage at Connecticut Humanities. But this is a partnership that we have with the Connecticut Office of the Arts, with direct regional service organizations, the regional arts organizations like Eric and Shoreline Arts. And we wanted to get together to, first of all, congratulate you all. Normally when we do grants, I don't have 600 plus award calls going all out at the same time. And I actually call people. And I know I see Bruce and Dennis and others here who may have gotten an award call from me in the past. And we like to let you know whether you got the grant or you didn't. With 600 plus organizations getting grants, we couldn't quite do those calls. So this is an opportunity to congratulate you all, but also to share some information with you and talk about the future of where we're going as a sector. Operating support is not something that the state invests in at this level in my time in Connecticut, and I've been here for 20 plus years. Normally, the amount of money that would go to the arts and the humanities combined would be somewhere in the neighborhood of $5 to $6 million a year. Between this program, which provided $16 million of operating support grants, the Kids Free program, which is going to be coming back for a second summer, and other funding, we're looking at $40 to $50 million of support going out to the arts, history, cultural community writ large. So this is an exciting time, but it's also a time to make sure that we don't lose this momentum and lose this moment that we're at. You know, we're here because of the pandemic in large part, which is not why you want to be having additional funding coming, because there's been a miserable last couple of years, but it's an opportunity that I think we can leverage and start to share and build from going forward. The state writ large is not seeing the arts and the humanities, which for a long time, since the 1960s really, when the federal government set up the National Endowment for the Humanities and state humanities councils to do that work at the state level. And that's where we are at Connecticut Humanities. We've been around for nearly 50 years, helping to connect knowledge and scholarship and discussion from the universities to the public. And we've been a grant funder for over 40 years. And the National Endowment for the Arts, and they set up state arts councils like the Office of the Arts and our friends over in Hartford. Funding lines from DC, funding lines from the state have really been bifurcated. With the pandemic, we've been working closely together to help support the needs of the arts and humanities organizations together. And I think the state is seeing the work of a historical society, a history museum, a science center, a children's museum, a performing arts center, a cinema, and so many other places as not being vastly different from one another. And that's led to increased funding to make sure that you, our important community organizations, make it through this pandemic and thrive going forward. So our goal right now, we have $30.7 million that's come to us over the course of 2 years, $20 million this year, 16 million of which went out in operating support, which is why you're all with us, 3 million to support statewide projects and partnerships and collaborations that support the work you do, including increased funding to Eric and the work at Shoreline Arts for that other 3 million. But we have 10 million next year. 80% of that, or 8 million, is going to go out in operating support. So there will be a year 2 of this, and we'll talk more about that in a moment. But we want this to continue beyond 2 years. And that's really why we're together today. Most times when we give out grants, we sign a contract, we tell you when your final report is due, and we waive unless you've got some questions or stuff that pops up in between. And I'm hoping that we can do stuff a little bit differently and find ways of connecting with you more regularly, finding out the needs that you have to be able to support the work that you want to be doing and the growth you want to be having on our own, with the Connecticut Office of the Arts, with the designated regional service organizations like Eric, and really be advocating on your behalf and talking about the impact of the work that you have. So with that, let me share our website and highlight a couple of things I want you to know about, and then we'll break up in another 10 minutes or so into some small groups to continue the discussion, because there's just too many folks here in the room writ large to be able to go around and do introductions. So if you've hopped on more recently and you haven't already, do go into the chat and introduce yourself and the organization that you're a part of, and we'll have some opportunities for group discussion in a minute. And if you have any questions, please do put those in the chat. And my colleague Leanne, who many of you have been probably communicating back and forth with about projects and getting all the answers to the questions you have, we'll be monitoring the chat and trying to answer stuff in real time, as well as live as we move a little bit further into the session. Let me share my screen right now, though. If you go to cthumanities.org, you'll already start to see some changes. Leanne and I are doing some redesign and sharing new information on our grants pages. So before you had to hover over our work to get the grant stuff, we popped that out, and it's right along the top nav now of cthumanities.org to get information about all of our grants. On the left, you'll get some information about the granting program in general and what our funding priorities are and what we funded recently. On the right, you'll see our individual grant lines. And if you click on CT Cultural Fund Operating Support, we want to design our individual grant pages, this one specifically, not just to have information for you if you're looking to get funds, but information that you as grant recipients will be wanting to have, and we'll continue to build out information there. So you can see our full list of awards, and it's broken out by town, and every one of your organizations is hyperlinked. So if people want to learn more about any one of our recipients, you can do so with the click of a button. We'll have press releases, and we'll continue to share the releases as we go along, including the one that talks about we've granted out $6.1 million to 632 cultural organizations. And this is big. You know, we've known we have hundreds of cultural organizations, but there is no one place that keeps a census of how many there are. We know we haven't hit everybody. We know we can pick up more along the way, but to know that we have 600 plus organizations is an important moment for us to talk collectively about the impact of what we have. And we'll have resources for grantees over here, our data stories, which is taking the survey information that you've filled out and starting to highlight what it means, as well as things like frequently asked questions, quick and easy access to our grant guidelines, tips collecting visitor information, and we'll highlight some of these going forward here. The first thing I'll do is I'll highlight that frequently asked questions, because we have gotten a lot of questions from grantees, and we want to make sure that we can answer them if we're getting the same thing enough times in a quick and easy place to find it. So it's everything from, why wasn't the first check that I got matching the amount that you said I was going to be receiving? And it's in your contract, but it can still be very confusing. We pay out the operating support grants at 75% at time of contract and 25% when the final report is completed. So that first check you received is that 75% of your whole award amount, and that last 25% will come when we close out and get some more information from you. Can I use these funds for things other than what was discussed in my application? The short answer to that is yes, as long as it's not something that's prohibited in the grant guidelines. You by and large can use it for organizational priorities. We would very much encourage people to align the use of the funds in ways that help support the state legislature. And this is where the funds do come from. They're coming from the General Assembly and your tax dollars to support their priorities for why this funding came to us in the first place. And that's things like organizational staffing. They want us to keep jobs, they want us to grow jobs, and they want us to keep money going to people in terms of salary, whether that be full-time, part-time, or contractors. Connecting through K-12 education, helping support our educators in this crazy learning era we've been over the last couple of years, and supporting the work they're doing in the classroom, and helping to build out our technology and digital infrastructure. So again, if you can align use of funds in some ways for those activities, that will help to continue to demonstrate the impact of the funds going to support the things that the legislature wanted to see happen. But if you click on our guidelines, we have in section 1.3 eligible expenses, and then in section 1.6 funding exclusions. And that's where it would really highlight the stuff you cannot use the funds for. And I like to say this is a lot of the fun stuff. We can't be using it on food or alcohol. We can't go to the casinos and gamble it. You can't be bribing your legislator. Don't bribe anybody, especially with our funds. There's a couple of key things that might get into mission work to highlight here, but even there's going to be some workarounds. So it says we can't be using it to be making capital improvements to our site or facilities. That said, well, you can't be using this to put a new roof on your building. If you need a new roof on your building, you could be using some of these funds to pay your staff, and then freeing up the money you were going to be using to pay your staff to put on a new roof. Same thing, we can't be acquiring, if you're a collecting institution, new art or artwork, to be purchasing capital equipment. And capital equipment is major expenses. If you need a new HVAC system, consider that to be a capital expense. Can't be buying new land. So the property next door comes on, you want to expand your campus, great. We just can't use these funds to do that. Capital expenses is not small equipment costs. So if you are using a laptop from 1996 and you want to be able to get, a 25-year later piece of technology, by God, buy yourself a laptop. It's allowed. And if you've got questions on what's a capital expense and capital equipment versus not, Leanne and I can help answer that. But software, computer hardware, this is all stuff we want to help places to upgrade and get more modern on. Other stuff we'll talk about in a little bit gets into the visitation and demographics. I know there's a lot of concern about data collection, and we'll talk more about that in a second. But when will the final report look like? We are crafting that as we speak. We actually had a meeting yesterday with the Office of the Arts, and throughout the whole thing, we've been partnering with them. Our goal right now is to have final reports go live about June. Our fiscal year runs July 1 to June 30th. So I want to have final reports done about 6 months into this grant period, but the end of our fiscal year. We're not launching it now for a couple different reasons, not the least of which is we want to have a period of performance so that you can not only spend the funds, but talk about the impact they had on the work you do. And that's going to be some of the stuff that we will look to capture from you in a final report, as well as in a second survey with our data collection expert, Susie Wilkening. We'll talk more about data collection. Our goal is not to scare anyone here. We're not going to be making decisions about year 2 awards based on how good a job you do data collecting, how much data you collect or don't collect. We really want to just help you be better data collectors so that we can get better information to share with the state. And we'll talk more about that in a little bit. But now that we have a little bit better idea about what some of the things we can spend it on, what the priorities are for the state legislature, what we can't spend it on, I'm going to stop sharing screen. And I will put in the chat here, we'll get ready to do some breakout sessions. We would like to have about a 10-minute discussion with you all. First of all, you can introduce yourselves to each other, but we could also talk about preliminary thoughts on how your institution might be spending the money. And we want to start to just not talk about the here and now, but the future. Our goal is to find ways of working with the Office of the Arts, you all, Eric and Shoreline Arts, to continue to serve the needs of the arts, humanities, and cultural community writ large. What other things besides more money? We're always trying to get you more money. What other things would you need? Trainings, resources, help to be able to bring in more audience, serve K-12 teachers better, and grow your organization over the next 2 years that we might do through trainings or workshops or other resources to get you. So we'll break out into groups of 5 or 6. We'll do preliminary thoughts on use of grant funds, big picture, what other help is needed. And then we won't be able to have all groups report back, but if you all can find and assign someone to kind of share some of the big picture thoughts with the group, we'll talk to a couple of the groups afterwards and hear how some of their discussion went. So with that, Leanne, if you're ready to send us out into groups for about 10 minutes, and then we'll reconvene. All right, welcome back, everybody. I'm sure if I asked if that was long enough, most people are going to say no. And I'm sorry about that. This is the joy and pain of trying to keep to an hour-long commitment to meet today. But I'm hopeful that this is not going to be the very last time we get together. And I'm also hopeful that maybe the next time we get together could even be in person if the way the pandemic continues to trend, because it's much more impactful to be having a cup of coffee with one another and talking face to face than as little Brady Bunch squares on a screen. But I know we had some very good conversations in my group, and just to quickly highlight, and then maybe if people want to raise their hand and volunteer to share a little bit from their group discussion, we had all volunteer organizations like the Greater New Haven African American Historical Society, to smaller organizations with paid staff like the EMD Teen Center 10 Selden, and we had one of our biggest organizations, cultural organizations in the state, in the Mystic Aquarium with us as well. But a lot of good thoughts and discussion, shared needs about things like more help with IT presence and wanting to do website changes, especially with accessibility, wanting to be more equitable and accessible, and as we continue to improve as a sector in terms of IDEA work, and also having some people sharing numbers on our phone call here and wanting to be more collaborative with organizations in the Greater New Haven area. And that's another goal here. We know that not all of you know each other, and I hope that more of you will reach out and find ways to learn about each other's sites and ways that you could be collaborating and working together, because that will just make us as a stronger as a sector as well. Are there some other individuals that want to kind of share some feedback and from your conversation, especially about some of the things that we could be using to help you as a sector?
We spoke it. I'm sorry. We spoke
go ahead,
in our.
Alice.
Alice, you can go.
Okay. We spoke in our group a lot about data collection and the degree of difficulty in doing that. And it would be helpful if you share some ideas on that with us. We were a very diverse group. With us, with my group in particular, we have audience that doesn't like to fill out survey cards. They don't necessarily, when they buy tickets, give us information about who they are, where they come from, or how old they are. The only thing we're able to collect with these is the children, because we give them free tickets and they have to stop at the desk to pick them up so we can collect that data. We're able to do it with our membership and we're able to do it with our board, but we can't do it with our audience. So, and I've not made
you a plant, Alice, but that is actually going to be the next thing that we talk about after we do this. So I don't know if Leanne was like prompting you, but you're right on target for things that we know are on minds. We'll share in a minute. How about Susan first, and then Jacques, and then I think we'll go to talk about data collection.
I was in the group with Alice, and this was the problem. I am of an older generation, I guess, and I frankly would feel uncomfortable even asking the board members their sex and ethnicity. I just don't do it. And every grant now requires that. And I do my best to figure it out in my own mind, but there's a degree of not being so comfortable with that. So anything you can share by way of approach or a surveys. One person in our group mentioned that they do a survey with their board members, and that's a way to do it. Or Lena mentioned asking people to give their pronouns. So at the beginning of a meeting, so if people are comfortable with that, that would be fine.
So yes, we're going to go into this in a second. And at the end of the day, the one thing I want to take away is we're going to do the best of our abilities. Sometimes best estimates are the best that we can do, and that's fine. But hopefully we're going to give you tools, trainings, and confidence to collect data more concretely or confidently going forward. And that's going to be an ongoing process. It's not going to be something we're going to solve in one hour workshop, and it'll be more of something we're going to talk about as time goes on. I was going to turn it over to Jacques, but he has left his screen, so I'm not going to. Oh, he's bringing a friend over. All right.
Oh.
He's babysitting. I'm gonna not ask my question because he started crying.
Okay, so we'll come
Jacques.
back to you later, Jacques. Well, let's talk about data collection more then, and I'm going to share my screen again and highlight a couple of things here, because this is the number one thing that I'm hearing from across the state. I think everyone is realizing that data is helpful in making a case on our behalf for continued funding. On the other hand, it's not something that we all do as well as we might like. So let's talk about what some initial thoughts are and work that we're already doing. So the very first thing I want to highlight is, what have we done with the data you've already given us? If you go to our Cultural Fund operating landing page, again, on Connecting Humanities, you'll see we've started to build out a page for CT Cultural Census data stories. And if you click there, we have a landing page that'll tell you about our sector is, and we're starting to share statewide data on you all, and this will grow based on who are we as a full sector, how has the pandemic affected us as a full sector, and then some breakouts by county. So now we know statewide, if you click on that, for the first time, we are 600 plus organizations. Roughly half of us, a little more than half of us are museums, and we've used the AAM definition of museum to be zoos, aquariums, historical societies, historic sites. About a third of us, a little less overall, are performing arts organizations. And that, again, is everything from ballets to presenting theaters And then about 16% are other, and that's stuff from cinemas to festivals to cultural series. In the pandemic year 2021, our total participation was about 7.3 million overall, from in-person to virtual and kids education. We employ, this is people we pay either full-time or part-time or on a contractual basis, over 12,000 people. And we have a lot of volunteers contributing a lot of hours. But you can break this out and look at this, not just statewide, but for, let's say, Middlesex County, which I know a number of you are representatives of. While 5% of the residents live in Middlesex County, 7% of these funds went to Middlesex County organizations. 41 overall received funds. Many more museums were at 59%, a little less performing arts, about the same number of cultural organizations, serving about 190,000 people and employing 950 people as a sector. So hopefully this is information that not only we'll be using on your behalf, but please feel free to use this in your own advocacy and messaging. We know that the pandemic is still hitting you hard. So we have our first data story beyond just who we are is about the pandemic. And yes, we served 7 million people last year, but that's down a third of where we were in 2019. It's not a surprise that our in-person visitation is down, and not a surprise that our online visitation is up, but it's still not getting us to whole from where we were in 2019. So help like this is very much still needed and important. And as we try to get back hopefully to a normal 2022 coming up here. Eric, you have your hand up. So before I share more, I wanted to give you a chance to jump in here. And you're on mute.
Jacques, if you want to, I want to make sure he gets to say what he says, because I happen to hop in his room and I thought it was a very good comment. So I think what he was going to tell you is that he really appreciates the, this is the, what can CT Humanities help with in the big picture for folks. There was a suggestion that writing grants is getting easier, which is great because we're not asking as much and we can be more clear and more specific. The question is, have we thought about that in terms of reporting? Can we keep it simple and to the point? And, you know, like for his organization and with a little baby at home, you know, trying to write a big, long report is a lot to ask. So the question is, how can we help as institutions like yours and mine to help with the keeping reporting and all that stuff important and let's say to the point?
So that is a great point. And Jacques, something that we are having discussions about all the time. We are asking, what do we need to know? What do we want to know? And how can we right size what we're asking to not be a burden either at the application stage or at the reporting stage? So one example of this is, I mentioned earlier at the beginning of the call, and many of you may have participated in this as an organization or took kids or grandkids to it. The governor last year started an initiative that we helped support along with the Office of the Arts, Kids Free Summer at the Museum, which encouraged, and we had over 60 places participate in, going admission free from July 1st through Labor Day weekend. This year, as we're crafting the application, and we know we've got a lot of data from places that not only did Kids Free last summer, but did operating support, we are branching out to try to say, here's the stuff that we need from everybody, and we're only going to ask it if we don't have it from you at all. If you got Kids Free and operating support, it's going to be a pretty small application just for the stuff that we don't already have from you. If you didn't get one of those, we might need to ask a little bit more so we can fill in some of the holes that we haven't gotten from you yet, but we're going to right size the application and not ask the same things to everybody if we've already gotten that kind of data from you before. And the same thing with reporting. We're trying to figure out, based on where this funding came from, are there certain questions that we have to ask you because of the source of the funding to report back out on and make sure we don't miss that? And besides that, what's the stuff we need to know and to make sure that our application doesn't become too long? Even on the financial reporting on operating support, the conversation we had yesterday, we're not going to ask you to submit receipts and invoices for the dollars you spend. We're not going to ask you to line item every single thing that you bought in a response to us. We will want to know how much money you spent by categories, how much money you spent on salaries and wages, how much money to contractors, how much money to consultants. And we'll have certain categories that we want you to give us details on. And that's because that's what we're going to report back to the state. We're going to want to know how many new employees you brought on, how many employees were sustained, how many people were contracted out because of this, because that's what the legislature wants to know. So if they're asking questions, it's going to be the kind of things that we really need to be able to advocate on your behalf, and not just to make more work for you at any part of the process. So I'm not saying we're going to get it perfect, but we're working on it all the time to do better in those areas. In terms of the question,
that actually answered the next half of the question, I think, but I'm going to say it anyway, just so you hear it.
Yeah.
The other thought was like, could these systems, with all the data collecting that we're collecting at this point, is there a way to help us when we go type in Shoreline Arts Alliance, all our contact stuff goes in and all that stuff? But it sounds to me like you're already on the track of, we've done it before, so you don't need to do it again. And if that's possible, that's possible. You know, you can put that into place.
That is our goal throughout, and the work we do with Susie Wilkening. And I know we're about 10 minutes to the hour here, and I'm going to have to hop off a little early because I'm doing another one of these with Northwest Connecticut Arts. So just in terms of the data collection, let me highlight a couple of things that are already here, and a couple more things that'll be coming in short order. So we have taken all your questions that people were asking as they were filling out that first survey with Susie Wilkening to create those data stories we were talking about. And we had a lot of questions that were commonly asked in doing that. So we have created a tip sheet for collecting visitation and audience data. And if you go back to our larger webpage to be able to find that, we've got our frequently asked questions. And in the frequently asked questions, there's a question about how do I collect data? And that's where you can find this tip sheet that I want to highlight here. So this thing has basically some overall information. Like I said, again, why data collection is important. It's helping us to build your case. We are going to be generally asking for information about who your visitors are geographically, by age or race and ethnicity. These are some of the key things that we're looking to get data on. If you want to know what questions we asked in the first survey, you can have a PDF of that survey so you can see all the questions, because by and large, these are the same types of questions we're going to ask as follow-ups coming up. How can we start to get some of this stuff? If you're doing online or virtual registration, there's some ways to gather it through pop-ups or questions in the online process. If you have a front desk staff or a point of sale, you could collect it there. But again, for busy events or just in general, if this is beyond your capabilities, estimation is fine. We don't want people not to be collecting data because they don't feel they can do it the way that a different institution is collecting it. We want everyone to do the best job for them. Estimations are fine. Whenever you're asking questions, it should be optional. We've got some sample language here. If you were going to ask at your front desk, say, can you help us out? We want to make sure that the Greater New Haven African American Historical Society is enjoyed by all. We have a few demographic questions here to help us understand who we're serving effectively and who we can do a better job serving. Your questions are going to be confidential and not required. And then here is some way of breaking down that data. Geography, just in-state and out-of-state. Age, children, adults, older adults. Race and ethnicity, there is no perfect way to do this. We're trying to standardize all the questions that we ask and the ways that we're asking data so that Connecticut Humanities, Connecticut Office of the Arts are doing stuff together. We're aligning with other ways that data is being collected across the country, including, I know for the arts organizations, Arts and Economic Prosperity 6 is something that's on the horizon and will be asked for data. And we don't want our data to be vastly different than the questions that are there. So we're going to continue to try to align things. So if you're answering it once, that same answer will be used for a variety of different ways. We know this isn't enough. So we are working with Susie Wilkening, again, our data consultant, on creating a template, which I have a draft of in my inbox and I need to review and finalize. And we will share that you could deploy at your sites for asking questions and gathering this data.
That'd be good.
We're going to plan an hour-long workshop with Susie, probably in May, that everyone that got a grant can attend. and she can give tips and suggestions
Mm.
on ways of doing data collection with ample time for questions and answers for all the things that you individually want to know about your institution. Because there's a big difference between an aquarium and a historical society and a theater. So we want to make sure that everyone feels, no matter what part of the sector they're serving, they've got the instructions and help to do things and collect data from whoever you're serving. We might start to do something we're investigating and pricing out monthly open office hours with Susie Wilkin, where people can just drop in for an hour, pop into a Zoom, and ask her whatever questions are on your mind at that moment as you're crafting stuff and doing work. And we're going to do other trainings and workshops and resources with our DRSO partners like ERIC, the Connecticut Arts Alliance, and the Connecticut League of History Organizations. I'm imagining some of you might have joined the Connecticut League of History Organizations workshop with Karina Wizovich yesterday afternoon at 3 o'clock on evaluation. That's the first of many things that they're going to be launching from the Connecticut League to support organizations on audience and evaluation. This is a lot of information. We're just about at time here because of the other program I need to hop over to. Long way of saying this is not the end of a conversation. This is a beginning. No, we're going to continue to be developing tools and trainings on data collection like we've talked about, and in some of the other areas that people are asking questions on. Kids Free will be launching within the next month for those that are museums, and we'll have more details about what that is, but we have another $15 million recommended from the governor to help support that program for a second year in a row. And one last thing just to be thinking about, besides operating support coming back for year 2, it'll be on the same timetable as year 1, where we want to launch applications around August, September, for an application due date of the very beginning of November, for award notifications before Christmas, and use of funds in calendar year 23. And again, this will be everyone that is eligible is going to get funds. If you want to do some budget planning, because we have half of the funds, I'm imagining that people's awards, roughly, if you want to estimate, are going to be about half of what they were this year, just because we have half as much money to give out. Although I also hope we're going to pull in some more organizations that we know are in the state that didn't apply for one reason or another this year. So we might have a hopefully 700 plus organizations dividing the pot up this year as opposed to year 1. And the last thing, we're going to be working at Connecticut Humanities to work towards 2026 and the 250th birthday of our country. We are in the process right now in this legislation before the state to form a state 250th commission. And we want to engage the whole state at Connecticut Humanities as a co-leader of that commission, along with the Secretary of State's office, of looking at not just 250th in terms of what was happening in Connecticut in the 1770s. Yes, that's very much something we want to talk about, but even more, what were our goals and ideals of trying to form a nation? What have we done well? What could we do better? And really having it be a civics discussion that will connect to artists, arts organizations, humanities organizations, and cultural organizations as a big exploration of who we are as a country and who we want to be as a country. While we know that there'll be tourists coming through Connecticut to get to Boston or to get to Philadelphia, we want to capture them along the way and have them stop here and really explore with us. Again, a lot of information. We're at time. I'm going to have to hop. I want to thank all of you for being with us today. Thank Leanne for managing the chat and the breakout rooms. Thank Eric for co-hosting us with us here and giving us their Zoom room for the day, and saying, looking forward to working with you all. And if you can stay on, I know there's some questions in the chat here. Maybe you can start to answer those as I jump over to the other one and start to get that one started.
Yeah. And Susan, I know you've had your hand up. Maybe I'll stay
Thanks,
behind
Scott.
and we can chat.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
Who had their hand up, Leanne?
Susan?
Oh, I think you're on mute. There you go.
No, Alice asked the question, so thank you very
Oh.
much.
Okay, great.
It's Susan. I WPA TV that has her hand up.
Uh-huh.
And I'm one of the organizations that's called Other, a community television station. So first off, I want to remind all of you that in Connecticut, everyone has one. If the goal is shared audiences, and some of you are getting technology now to actually make videos, you can go to your own local channel. They cannot refuse you in terms of playing it. So that's the first thing I want to share. The other thing I'd like to see come out of this collectively, and I'm getting videos from Jack, that if we can create a cloud portal and I'll be glad to manage it on behalf of all of you, where we can put the videos that you've made with the technology that you're getting into a location with a release. I can try to get it out to every station in Connecticut if we can formalize that process a little bit, because one of the goals is for you to expand your audiences and tell your story. And the community television stations in Connecticut can be that resource. We can maybe even identify a humanities hour and encourage them all to play certain things at a certain time of the day, because that is one of the challenges with community TV. Don't know when things are going to play. So I'd like to build on that a little bit more, possibly offline with some of you, but I know that I'm already getting videos from Jacques, and I know that I've seen others from you and Guilford. The ladies from Guilford hadn't thought about this before, and they're going to bring it to their own community there. So that's the idea. Hopefully we can build on it collectively.
Would
That's
you
right.
please
Susan,
send us information on how to get that done? I don't have your email address or contact
Put it in the
information.
chat.
Okay, I'll put my email in the chat.
Thanks so much, Susan. Can I also suggest, so we have a contact sheet, and you've probably received an email from me about that. We're trying to get a contact sheet to help people collaborate. In the next few days, I'll be sending that out. So if you haven't added your information to the contact sheet, Susan, if you haven't added your information to the contact sheet yet, there is a section that says, is there anything that you want to share with other organizations? And that would be really great information to put there so that other organizations who maybe aren't on this call right now can see that as well.
Great, thank you.
And Susan, what area are you with?
I'm a community television station out of Wallingford.
Out of Wallingford, okay, that's all.
We have an agreement to share anything that's created in the 7 towns from Madison up to Wallingford. So that agreement is already in place. But, and because all of you are representing organizations that are statewide, you should be eligible without question, but everybody operates slightly differently. So having a generic release created so that whatever materials you produce can be released anywhere in the state will be helpful to move this along.
I love it. I'm on the Guilford Television Board, so I'm with you 100 times.
And Shirley down here wants to get her content on the Guilford board, so on Guilford channel.
You got it. Absolutely. Okay, good. So anything else anybody has?
Can I just have a question for Leanne, because I'm not sure I understood Scott. Did Scott say that there was going to be another opportunity for general operating support grant in the fall?
Yes, so there will be a second year of this same program. It will run on more or less the same schedule, so opening in August or September and being due in November, with the announcement whether or not you receive the grant coming out right before Christmas. So it'll be more or less the same schedule. And one thing to note, as Scott was saying, is that we have half the amount of funding for the second year. So you can estimate that probably for the second year, you'll have about half the amount of funding that you received.
And Leanne, the final reports will be due by end of June?
No, the final reports will be due on December 21st, 2022. Come on in.
I'm sorry, this background noise.
It'll be due December 21st, but you can start closing out your grant as early as June. So the earliest you can do your final report is June. The latest will be in December.
So if we're able to do a final report with monies expended by June 30th of 2022, we'll be able to do that?
Yes, so we will send out an email. We'll send out an
Thank you.
email to let you know when the final report is ready. You can close out
Thank
as soon as the final report is ready. And then we'll send you the remaining 25% of your grant. So
Thank
the
you.
earliest would be June.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Connie? Connie? Yeah, I'm also online with a.
Okay, great. Well, thank you all so much for joining us today. Again, reach out to, we put all our contact here in the bar here. Leanne's got Scott's and hers, and Shoreline Arts Alliance is there. So reach out to us. Please be in touch. If it's our first time getting together with you, please reach out to us some more so that we can continue to help with what all you're doing. All right. Anything else anybody has, or should we go? All right. Sounds like a good idea. Have a great afternoon. Take care. Thanks, Leanne.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.